Yeah, this is basically the scheme of the universe, how I wrote it in German words, but yeah, the first second. So I know every step of manifestation in physical terms, so this will be very useful to establish a meaningful theory. So now I will write it in English and say a few words to it. So we start out from the macroscopic world as ever. So in this we call acceptance. Why? Only kinematically computable. This is the microscopic. Microscopic. And then we arrive at humanity. So the whole universe helps the humans, and that's why every being is part of humanity time sphere. And these are etherical. And the acceptance, ether, particles plus void, which is the ether. And then we have light, sound, and subquark. Then we have humanity. This is so to say the fractality of the universe. So there's an interaction because the universe is fractalic 100% in the human. There's an extra interaction between the universe and humans. And then reality, but how do you say reality in psychological words? Awareness. And this is the state. So state of time and place. So every time has, in every time, every place has a position. So there's a map of everything in every time. And for humanity, we get orbitals, heat, attraction, force, and work. So orbitals is here movement, because movement is automatically on orbitals. And it has two movements which do not move the center of mass, but one movement which moves the center of mass. So the first movement doesn't move the center of mass. The second rotation leaves it constant under circles, periodic. And the third orbital leaves the center of mass only in mean value constants. Or this moves the center of mass. And this keeps it a mean value. So this keeps it a mean, and this moves it maybe on. So, but there are three orbitals. Once the orbitals overlap, and this is awareness. So everything has a rapidity. Everything comes with time, develops with time. And that's why there's something called an awareness layer of time. This is a state where everything is relative to each other. And then we have the so-called Islam, Prophet Muhammad would say, and this is citizenship. And this looks at the universe. And here we have the periodic table. The grand canonical table. Or the black table, so to say. And last but not least, the exotic table, or the neon table. The periodic table we could call white table. And how can we visualize it? We can visualize a big delta, and here we have the 4 steps of acceptance. Then we have the 3 steps of humanity and the 2 steps of awareness. The awareness I will do Chinese. And then we have an opposite direction of time. This is Arabic numbers. Very artistic, I know. So this is 4, and this is 5, and this is 3. So you know. And now we plug them here. Because why not? Basically, we have more because like there's a 6 potential universe theory that I'm describing. When something is created out of nothing, it has to overcome 6 potentials. So it has to have finite size, finite smallest distance, simultaneously relativity, absolutity, and so on and so forth. It's like the reality of the grave, the reality of birth, the reality of past, the reality of future, and the reality of evolution, and the reality, the 6, wait. Past, future, grave, born, evolution, and something else. So this is the time axis of awareness. So, but there's also time axis that starts from the microscopic level to reality, and from the cosmological, from the universal scale, from the heavens, from the universe, there's also an influence onto the reality, and reality influences everything also. And now this is also mirrored. This is being mirrored because everything has a paradise and hell form. So at some point the particles you create with manifestation, basically manifestation is creating particles all the time, and some of them end up in hell, some of them end up in heaven, but heaven is not freedom and hell is not jail. Hell can be helpful, paradise can be hell. So basically there's also jail in hell, but cosmologically, physically speaking, particles can go to hell and to heaven, and you want that your particles ultimately go to heaven when you manifest. So here's a mirror for hell and heaven. So paradise, heaven is something else. Our astronaut Lord Jesus Christ will know why he talks about heaven, our astralic realm. So etherical, it's like our perception. And it's okay, I'll make this illustration somewhere else. It's like imagination psychologically. Then we get ether, particles plus white. This is like visualization. And angels. Then we have light, which is like books. The psychological thing is thoughts. Then we have sound, which is like prophets. The children of Israel concentrated on sound technology, the tribe of Israel, and at the end they had the most prophets also. They spawned them because they always used sound, so they just spawned them. And emotions, also known as energy in motion, and physics is also an energy in motion. And then we have subquarks, and this is traditionally speaking, this is acceptance. And when the Greeks and the ancient Persians said matter, they meant subquarks. So this is where matter begins in the traditional sense, but we have lost the transcription, so we don't know what matter is when they say matter, because they lost the physics and couldn't explain it with formulas anymore. Then we have heat, movement. This is of course subquark orbitals times 3. And this is instinct. Then we have heat, which is orbital overlap. And this is intuition. Then we have attraction, which is orbital change. Which is inspiration, also known as faith. So orbital overlap is also known as partisanship. So I just write partisan. And so quarks orbitals. Why that's more small. Partisanship is intuition, and movement, which is subquark orbitals, is solidarity. And it's instinct, then heat, orbital overlap, partisanship, intuition, orbital change, which is just faith is inspiration. And then we have force exerted on inertia, which is truth, and we know this as reality. And then we have sincerity, which is work energy along force. Sincerity, energy along force, which is work. And then we got the periodic table. Exotic table. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and here. Black table. Here we have elements. Planets, stars, galaxies, and we have with the black table cluster, and then supercluster, first heaven, wormhole, 7 heavens, planets, stars, elements, planets, stars, galaxies, cluster, black table corresponds to supercluster. Seven heavens. And we have after the supercluster the first heaven. Then we have wormhole. 7 heaven. Wormhole. First heaven is 4. Yes. First heaven, wormhole, 7 heavens, exotic table, which is the galactic star. which is the universal star. So what you do is calculate everything besides the first 5 steps, and then you can use a computer to calculate the first 5 steps, and that's the idea of how everything works. And the steps between 6 and 10 are very much like thermodynamics and string theory. Thank you for listening.